Thanks for joining me as we sew a Fibi Fold-over Cross-body by Oro Rosa Patterns. This bag has such a fun and creative design. It features 4 zipper pockets, 3 on the front and 1 on the back. The design of the front zipper pockets allow you to mix and match your favorite color palette or let the lines of the design showcase its beauty. The main compartment closes with a magnetic snap and has a small fold over at the top. Inside the main compartment, there is a decorative yet functional slip pocket. Let's get started. Now that we have all of our pieces cut out, we have to prepare them before we can interface them. After we interface them and prepare them, we're going to put them into packs. Part of the preparation is labeling your pieces. During the labeling process, she has little symbols that help you figure out where they're placed in the pattern. It also helps you to know that you have the right pattern piece whenever you're looking at the diagrams in the written tutorial. Another part of the preparation is fusing your interfacing and mounting your magnetic snaps. So we have most of our pieces here, all of them that needed interfacing. Between the front and the back, you have different interfacing. Just make sure you follow the tutorial for the correct placement. You have your back pocket piece with the interfacing centered. You have your back zipper trim piece with your interfacing centered. You also have your slip pocket, and you had to do some prep work in order to line up your interfacing where it needs to be. Then you also have your connector piece. Now we're going to prepare our zipper tapes. We're going to take the shorter one and the 2 longer ones, and we're going to install our zipper pull. So I've done 2 of them. I'm going to show you a little trick on installing a zipper pull. If you look really close, you'll see which tooth is on the top, your right side or left side. On this one, you have the left side on top. So when you separate these and you put your pull on, you're going to want to make sure that the left side is on top. And that's how you can make sure that they're even. So you put it in, pull it down, and as you see, the left side's on top, so we know that the teeth are perfectly straight. Now you're going to take your front zipper tabs, and you should have them all wrong sides together, folded in half. And you're going to line them up along the raw edge on the right side of the zipper tape, and you're going to clip them all in place. Do this for all of them. And do it on the opposite side also. Then you'll take these to the machine and you will sew right along this edge. Be sure to pay attention to the seam allowance mentioned in your tutorial. Okay, we have all these sewn on. Now you're going to take and you're going to wrap it around to the back, and then you're going to clip that in place. Now we're going to take these to the machine and we're going to do a top stitch right along the seam allowance. Okay, now that all of our zipper tabs are sewn on, we can separate them. And we'll set these aside for now. Now you need your middle size zipper, which is your back zipper tape. Be sure that the pull is installed. You also need your exterior and interior back zipper tabs. You're going to take and line them up along the short edge of your zipper end with the right side of the exterior to the right side of the zipper. Then you're going to take the lining, you're going to have the right side of the lining to the wrong side of the zipper tape. And you're going to clip those in place. You're going to repeat for the opposite side. Then you're going to take them to the machine and you're going to sew with the seam allowance provided in the tutorial. Now that those are sewn into place, you're going to turn it wrong side up and you're going to trim only the lining portion of the zipper tab within the seam allowance on both sides. And then you will open the exterior and the lining, clip them into place, and then take them to the machine and you're going to sew with a top stitch along the fold. With this zipper tape now prepared, we're going to set it aside. Then we're going to grab our connectors. So you have your connectors here, and you need to find the center and draw a line. Now that you've drawn your line, you're going to need your double-sided tape. And you're going to put it straight down the center of that line. Remove the backing and fold the edge in to meet the line. Then fold the other side in. And if you're worried about it, you can use clips to be sure that it stays in place until you get to the machine. Now repeat that. You're going to take these to the machine and you're going to sew along each folded edge with a 1/8 inch top stitch length. Okay, we have prepared our connectors, and the next step is to prepare your strap. I'm going to be using webbing, so I'm going to skip that step. For pack number 1, you're going to need your strap, 2 swivel clasps, 1 adjustable slider, and 2 sets of rivets. For pack number 2, you're going to need your lower front pocket linings, both the front and the back. You're going to need your zipper tape, one of the longer ones, 2 sets of rivets. You're going to need your lower front pocket, and if you're using a tag, you'll need that also. For pack number 3, you're going to need your middle front pocket, your middle front pocket linings, both front and back, and one of your longer zipper tapes. For pack number 4, you're going to need your upper front pocket, your upper front pocket linings, both the front and the back, and your shortest zipper tape. For pack number 5, you're going to need your front top trim. Your front top trim is the one with the 3 magnetic snaps. You're also going to need both of your main lining pieces. You're going to need your slip pocket piece and your 2 slip pocket side trim pieces. You're also going to need your rivets, and if you're putting in a sew-in tag, you'll need that with this set. For pack number 6, you're going to need your top trim back piece. You're going to need the back zipper trim. You're going to need your back pocket and the 2 back pocket linings, front and back. You're also going to need your connectors, 2 sets of rivets, and the middle length zipper. Let's begin with pack number 1. The first thing you'll do is take one end of your webbing and you will thread your clasp onto it. You can get your ruler and measure to make sure you have the right length overhang. And then you'll punch your holes. This type of webbing just needs to be threaded through the weave, so that's what I'm going to do here. Then you want to make sure you don't twist. And you're going to come to the other end. And you're going to thread your adjuster on. Make sure you have it the correct way. Pull it a little ways up and loosen it. Now you're going to thread your other clasp on. And you're going to come to the opposite side over here and rethread it through the adjuster underneath. Like that. You want your correct length here. If you want to match it up with that side, that's good. As you can see, this is on the inside here, and they're like this. Okay, the next thing you'll do if you want to pretty up your ends here is you're going to put your ends on. It's recommended to use Loctite whenever you're putting your ends on, your screws. And do the opposite one. Okay, now we just need to set our rivets. And we can set this aside. Moving on to pack number 2, we need our lower front pocket lining. That's the shorter of the 2 linings, and it's wider on the right-hand side when it's right side up. After that, you're going to take your zipper tape, make sure that it's closing to the right, and clip it in place, right side up, on top of your right side up lining. Now we'll take it to the machine and we will baste it along this top edge. Now that you have basted along this top edge, make sure that you got the zipper tape the right direction and that it is closing towards the right. With this portion right side up, take your lower front pocket piece right side down and line it up along that edge. Clip it in place. Now you're going to take this to the machine and you're going to sew across this top with the seam allowance designated in the tutorial. Now you're going to open up the lining, press it up, and then you're going to top stitch only the lining from here over, just the lining, with the seam allowance in the tutorial. Okay, now that you've sewn that, you're going to take your other lining piece and you're going to lay it right sides together and line up all the edges here and clip it in place. Then you're going to turn this so that the actual exterior pocket is out of the way, and you're going to baste across this long straight edge of the zipper tape. Now that you've basted your zipper tape into place, you're going to flip this over and you're going to trim only this exterior portion here. Do not trim the zipper tape. So let's trim that. By trimming this down, you cut off the symbol that was notated right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn it where the pocket itself is right side up and you're on the back side of the back lining, and you're going to remark that symbol right here. Okay? Then you're going to continue clipping the rest of this so that you can sew it closed. Beginning with this shorter side right here, you're going to sew all the way around the lining pieces with the seam allowance that's recommended in the tutorial. Somehow it didn't record. So you start at the zipper tape, you work your way around, and you stop at the zipper tape. Do not sew on the zipper tape. Just start and stop at the zipper tape. So if you can see on the opposite side where I started and stopped, right at the zipper tape. Now we're going to trim our lining seam allowance. So just trim it down. Now we're going to flip it around to the back, right at the line where our interfacing is, and clip it in place. We are not going to top stitch this fold, but if you want to, there is a place later on in the tutorial that will tell you when to do that. Now you're going to take your label and you're going to install your label wherever you decide you want it. Now that we have our label installed, we took our clips off. We're going to lay this right side up with the raw edge of the zipper at the top of your workspace. You're going to take out pack 3, and from pack 3 you're going to need your middle front pocket exterior piece. You're going to position it above the lower front pocket, both of them right side up, like that, where the bigger side's on the right, smaller side's on the left of your middle pocket, bigger side's on the left of your lower pocket, smaller side's on the right of your lower pocket. Okay? This gives you a general idea of what it's going to look like once you get it put together. Now you're going to turn the two pieces wrong side up, but keep them in the same order. See, you have your pound sign here, and you have your pound sign here. You're going to pick them up and put them right sides together. See that? You've got your pound here and your pound here, and they are now right sides together. And you will clip them in place. You're going to take this to the machine and you're going to sew right along this top edge here with the seam allowance written in the tutorial. Now that we've sewn them together, turn it so they're both right side up. Then you're going to turn down the middle portion and you're going to trim the exterior only. Do not trim the zipper tape. Once you've trimmed the exterior, you're going to push the middle pocket up, finger press it, and then you're going to take it to the machine and you're going to top stitch from one zipper tab to the other, only on the middle pocket. Now that you've top stitched from this tab to this tab, put this aside for a moment. Now we take out our middle front pocket lining. That's the one that's shorter than the other one, and it's wider on the right-hand side when it's right side up. We also need our remaining long zipper tape, and you want to have it where the pull is closing to the right. You're going to line it up along the long edge and clip it in place. Now we're going to take it to the machine and baste this along the straight edge. Now that you've basted your zipper into place, you're going to get your piece with the triangle right here at the top, have it laying right side up, take your basted zipper right side down on top, line it up, and clip it into place. Then we're going to take this to the machine and sew it on with the seam allowance in your tutorial. With the front lining now attached, we're going to flip the lining up only, and you're going to leave the zipper down towards the middle, and you're going to press it up. Then you're going to take it to the machine, and you're going to top stitch along the lining. Let's take it to the machine. Now that you've top stitched your lining, you're going to take your other middle pocket lining piece. You're going to line it up and you're going to clip it into place all the way around. Okay, now that you've clipped it, you're going to flip it up just like this, where your zipper tape is exposed and you can see where it's clipped to here. You're going to take it to the machine and you're going to baste along this line here. Let's take it to the machine. Now that we've sewn our back pocket piece on, we're going to flip it over where we can see the triangle. And then we're going to take some scissors and we're going to trim this exterior only. Do not cut your zipper tape, just the exterior. So let's trim the exterior. Again, make sure you're not getting your zipper tape. Okay. And now that we've trimmed that, we need to make sure that we have the lining piece clipped all the way around. And we're going to start at the zipper tape and sew all the way around the perimeter of the lining. Do not sew on the zipper tape, just from zipper tape to zipper tape around the perimeter of the lining. Let's take it to the machine. Okay, now that we've sewn around the perimeter of the lining, we're going to trim the lining. Now that we've trimmed it, we are now going to remark our triangle right here on the lining. Do not top stitch this seam. Now we're going to set this just to the side for a moment and grab out pack number 4. We're going to set these pieces aside. Place the upper front pocket above the middle just to get a general feel of how it's going to all lay out. Then you're going to right sides together, flip this over, and you can see the triangle here and the triangle here. And these are the sides that you're going to line up, and you're going to clip them together, right sides together. And you're going to take it to the machine and sew with the seam allowance in the tutorial. Let's take it to the machine. Now we're going to trim our exterior only. Then we're going to finger press the upper panel up, and we're going to top stitch from tab to tab. So let's take it to the machine. Okay, we've just top stitched across the top panel, the upper panel. Now we're going to lay this flat, right side up, and take the lower panel and fold it up flat against the middle panel. Then you will take your ruler and you will measure from this line in your preparations. You're going to measure up, well, towards you, and up. You have to get your measurements from the tutorial. And draw your line. Then you're going to come to the other side and you're going to do the same exact thing. The reason you're doing this is because this piece needs to be sewn to the middle piece to keep them together. So we're going to sew them right here on this line. So we're going to clip them together. And we're going to sew on this line. Let's take it to the machine. Be sure that you backstitch very well both at the beginning and end of this line. Now that we've sewn the lines on each side, we're going to take out our hole punch and we're going to add a rivet just right about here. Should go through both sides and on the other side as well. And now we need to get out our press. I'm going to set the rivets. And these are the rivets that you had in pack number 2. With our rivets set in place, we're going to set this aside. Now we're going to grab our shorter of the upper front pocket linings. We want it to be right side up, and we're going to clip the shortest zipper tape with the pull closing to the right, right side up on top of this lining piece. Now we're going to take it to the machine and baste across the top edge. With the zipper now basted into place, you're going to take out the front part of your bag. The heart should be right here at the top, and you're going to match up right side together with right side together. Line them up along the top edge and clip them in place. Now you're going to take it to the machine and you're going to sew with the seam allowance in your tutorial along this top edge. With this lining now sewn into place, we're going to flip it up, press it, and top stitch it right along the fold. Now that you've top stitched your lining piece, you need to flip it over and trim the exterior only. Don't trim your zipper tape. Now we're going to flip it over and grab your other lining piece, line it up, right side together, and clip it in place all the way around. And we're going to take it to the machine, and we're going to baste along this zipper edge. Let's take it to the machine. Now that we've basted along the back of the upper pocket lining, we're going to turn it over and rewrite our heart up here. Then we're going to make sure we've clipped all the way around the rest of this lining, and we're going to sew it all the way around, starting and stopping at the zipper tape. Make sure that the rest of the bag is up and not caught when you sew around this perimeter. Let's take it to the machine. Okay, now that we've sewn around the entire perimeter of this pocket, we're going to trim it. Do not top stitch this seam allowance. Now it's time to take out pack number 5. We're going to begin by taking out the front top trim piece. What you're going to do is lay it right side up just to get a general idea that you have the right pieces lined up accordingly. And then you're going to look at the back. You're going to see your little heart, and you're going to see your little heart here. You're going to want to line those up. You're going to want to center it. I'm going to go ahead and make a small little clip at the center just to make sure. And then I'm also going to fold this in half just to make sure I have the center of this. And don't really want to clip the zipper tape, just the lining piece. There we go. Now we're going to line them up with our centers. And our hearts matching, and clip them together. Now you're going to notice that your magnetic snaps are going to be trying to snap together, and they won't be in the right place if they snap together right now, so just don't worry about that. And then we're going to take it to the machine and we're going to sew right across this with the seam allowance that's written in your tutorial. Now that we've sewn these pieces together, we're going to trim the exterior only, not your zipper tape. Okay. After we've trimmed this, we're going to turn this right side up. And with the zipper staying like this, you're going to want to finger press it. And then you're going to top stitch from this tab to this tab. Remember, we left this one not top stitched, and we are going to top stitch this one. So let's go top stitch from this zipper tab to this zipper tab, only on the top trim. Now that we've top stitched this piece, we're going to work with the bottom here, this lower portion. We're going to, right here at each dart, we're going to fold them right sides together. Line them up and place a clip. Now I am going to clip a little higher up here to hold it together a little easier, and also over here. And then I'm going to take my stapler. I have a little miniature stapler here, and I'm going to staple right beside it, staying within the seam allowance. Then we're going to take these to the machine and we're going to sew with the seam allowance that's designated in the tutorial. So let me get the other one folded. Now we'll take these to the machine and get them sewn. Okay, we have now sewn both of our darts, so we can now get our scissors out and trim it. Unclip it. All right, the next step is to fold all of our pockets exactly where the line that we drew is, right above our interfacing. And some people may want to top stitch. If you do, this is when you will do that. But you need to fold right along that interfacing so that we can line up the bag. you should be able to feel where the interfacing is, and that should be right at your line that you drew. Now that these are clipped, you're going to need to finagle it just a little bit here on the edges to make sure that you have just a little bit of gaping at each pocket. You don't want a lot, just a little bit, to make sure that you can reach in there and get to your zipper pull whenever you want to open and close your bag. Okay, once you get it lined up just how you want it, just make sure you know you got just a little bit of gaping at each one of your zipper pockets. Once you get it lined up, what I like to do is take a stapler, because sometimes stuff will shift at the machine, and this just helps guarantee that it's not gonna shift. So I'm gonna take a stapler and just right in the seam allowance, one staple to hold it. Now we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to baste these layers. So we're going to go all the way down to here, and we're going to go all the way down to here. Let's take it to the machine. Now that you've basted these two sides into place, you can move on to the rest of pack number 5. If you plan to sew a sew-in tag on your main lining pieces, now is the time to do so, and you will need to follow the instructions in the tutorial. Let's lay this aside for now, and we're going to take out our slip pocket piece. You're going to lay your slip pocket piece wrong side up, lengthwise like this. Then you're going to take some double-sided tape, and you're going to run it along each of the lines that you drew between the seam allowance and the line. It's all right if it goes over your stabilizer or your interfacing. Now you're going to take the backing off and fold the short edge in to meet that line. I'm going to take my iron and I'm going to press those seams. Then you're going to take and fold it on your center line. And these two seams should line up, and it should be even with your interfacing. And then you're going to press this seam. We're going to open it back up, lay it right side up, and take out your 2 slip pocket trim pieces. You're going to lay them on top, just like this, and then you're going to clip each long edge. Now we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to sew each long edge with the seam allowance designated in the tutorial. This is how it will look on the wrong side. Your folds here and just the clips and this. Let's go to the machine. With the slip pocket trim pieces now sewn into place, we're going to trim the exterior only. Now we're going to fold, just finger press that open with the seam behind the trim piece. You might need some longer clips to hold it behind. And then repeat for the other side. So you can see the back, you have the lining seam allowance straight behind the trim piece. So we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to top stitch along this fold on each side. Now that we've top stitched each of the slip pocket trims, we are going to turn it wrong side up and take out some double-sided tape. We're now going to affix the tape right along the raw edge of the slip pocket. Remove one side of the backing, and then we're going to fold this in, meeting up with the raw edge of the slip pocket. If you're worried about it staying in place, you can place clips. With both sides now folded in, we're going to take some double-sided tape And from this center line, I'm going to attach it right here. That way you're totally out of the seam allowance. Just from the center line down. And we're going to remove the backing. And fold it over, matching up the bottom edges. We're going to take out our main lining. If you did a tag, this is the one that does not have a tag. If you didn't do a tag, then it could be either one. You're going to measure up, centered from the bottom, and place the bottom centered right along that line. And I'm going to tape it all the way around. And then we're going to take it to the machine and we're going to sew around both sides and the bottom, leaving the top open. So the perimeter of the sides and bottom, but leave the top unstitched. For this step, you want to make sure that your tails are long. So pull out a little extra. You're going to start at the top here. You're not going to backstitch. Notice how I just stick the tape to my finger and pull it as I go. Pull it long and leave your tail long. With this slip pocket now top stitched and sewn into place, we're going to flip it over to the wrong side, tug very gently on the bobbin thread, and then it will give you a loop. If you just kind of keep pulling on that loop, you'll pull the top thread to the back. Repeat that for both sides. Then you're going to want to tie them about 3 to 4 times. And then you can shorten, but I don't recommend cutting it very short, just so that it doesn't stick out the sides. She recommends to use fray check. Then what you're going to do, I'm going to take this masking tape off. You're going to need your hole punch and your ruler so that you can center it right between here and all the way through. And repeat. She gives you the measurements. And then you're going to take out your rivets and insert them into the holes you just punched. And set your rivets. Now that your rivets are firmly set in place, we're going to set this aside. Now we start with pack number 6. What you're going to do is lay your back pocket lining piece, the shorter of the two, right side up. You need to make sure that you have found your center points. And then you're going to take your zipper tape. You want the zipper pull closing to the right. And you need to also know where your center point is on your zipper tape. You're going to lay it right side up on top of your right side up lining and center it. And then you will clip it into place along the long straight edge. After this is clipped into place, you're going to take it to the machine and you're going to baste right along the straight edge. One thing to notice is that the zipper tape actually overhangs the lining. And that is why it's so important that you make sure that you have it centered when you clip it into place. Now that our zipper tape is basted into place, we're going to take our back pocket piece. You want to make sure that you have already found your center mark. Then you're going to take your zipper tape and you're going to put it right side together at the center point along the straight edge. And you're going to clip them into place. Now you're going to take it to the machine and you're going to sew it at the seam allowance required in the tutorial. With the back pocket sewn to the lining, we're now going to flip them over where the lining is wrong side together with the back pocket. Just finger press them both down, and then we're going to take them to the machine and we're going to top stitch right along this fold. This will catch both the front, the actual pocket, and the lining. So let's take it to the machine. Now that we have our back pocket top stitched, we're going to take out the other lining piece. Be sure that you have your center point marked, and you're going to line it up the right side up to the wrong side of the zipper tape. Your linings will actually be right sides together. You're going to clip it into place along the long straight edge. Now you're going to take them to the machine and baste across this edge. With the back pocket basted into place, we're now going to clip around the edges of the lining. Right here at the bottom, we are going to clip only right at each edge. We're going to be turning the bag through this pocket opening. Now we're going to actually be sewing from this side, so Let me go ahead and turn it this way. What I like to do is I like to find the seam allowance around here, wherever it is, and then draw a line down to the edge of the fabric. Find the seam allowance over here, whatever it is, we'll find it, and then draw a line. Then I like to backstitch quite a bit right here, and then come around and up and backstitch well there. Backstitch well here, come over, around, and up. And what this does is it reinforces this turning hole to allow you to have a stronger stitch so you won't rip stitches or anything else when the rest of the bag is coming through that hole. So let's take it to the machine. Like I said, backstitch really well, coming back and forth from your seam allowance to the edge of the fabric. And then you're going to come up and around. Do this for each side. Okay, we found our seam allowance. Now we turn it and we're going to backstitch. Backstitch to the edge of the fabric. Go back to your seam allowance and do it back and forth a few times. Now follow it around till you get to your zipper tape. Repeat for the other side. Now that we've sewn our lining closed on the two sides, we want to trim our seam allowance off, but do not trim the opening here. Now we're going to lay this right side up, and we're going to grab our back zipper trim. Make sure that you found your center points, and you're going to line it up right side down against the right side up zipper tape. And clip it in place. Now we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to sew it on with the seam allowance designated in the pattern. Now that we have it sewn into place, we're going to take out our scissors and we're going to trim the back zipper trim only, not the zipper tape. And we're going to flip this up and we are going to top stitch just along this side. Now that we have top stitched our zipper trim, we're going to take some scissors and we're going to trim this tab to make it flow with the lines in the back. And do it on both sides. Now we're going to set this aside for a moment. The next thing we're going to need is our connectors and our tri-rings or D-rings. You're going to turn them wrong side up, and you're going to put some double-sided tape along the back. Then you're going to remove the backing, insert your ring, and match up the raw edges. I'm going to do that to both of them. If you're worried about them staying in place, you can grab a clip. Now we're going to set these aside and bring back our back panel. You're going to take a ruler and you're going to mark, also a vinyl marking pen that we'll remove. You're going to measure over and up, and you're going to make a mark. And you're going to take your clip, your connector, you're going to overhang it to the edge of your ruler. Get a clip and clip it in place. Repeat for the other side. Then you're going to take this to the machine and you're going to baste them into place. Let's take them to the machine. With the connectors now basted into place, we're going to take out our back top trim. You're going to line it up centered along the long straight edge and clip it in place. With them clipped into place, we're going to take them to the machine and we're going to sew along this edge with the seam allowance in the tutorial. Now that you've sewn your top trim into place, you should have your connectors sticking out like this. You're going to flip it over so that your top trim is now against the table and the bottom of the bag is up away from you. You should have the connectors right here sticking out now toward you. Then you're going to fold down the back pocket portion of the bag, and it should keep the connectors and all of the seam allowance behind this zipper trim. Then you're going to take it to the machine and you're going to top stitch along this fold. Let's take it to the machine. With this top stitched, you're now going to turn it over, and between the connector and the edge, you're going to trim down the top trim and the zipper trim. And do this on both sides. Now we're going to turn this back over. We're going to center between the two edges of the connector down into this portion here, and we're going to make holes, and we're going to put our rivets. You might have to go from the back. Put your rivet through. And repeat for the other side. Now let's set it. Now we're going to set this aside. I'm going to grab the front fabric, and we're going to go through and trim off any overhang. Okay, we've trimmed off any overhang on this, and we have this piece too with trimmed, no overhang. Now you need to decide which lining piece you're going to put with which side of the bag. I'm going to put the no slip pocket with the front of the bag and the slip pocket with the back of the bag. That's totally going to be your preference. We're going to set the back aside. We're going to take the right side up, front of the bag. You're going to take the right side down lining, and you're going to line it up along the straight edge at the top. Clip them in place. Now you're going to take this to the machine, and you're going to sew them on with the seam allowance given in your tutorial. Before we go to the machine, let's do the same thing with the back of the bag. So right side up, bag back, right side down, lining, and clip it in place. Now we're going to take both of them to the machine, and we're going to do them both at the same time. Okay, now we're going to trim away the main lining only, not the exterior. On both of them. And we're going to press this up. And we're going to take these to the machine, and we're going to top stitch along this edge. All right, with both linings now sewn to the main bag, we're going to flip them over one at a time here. We're going to trim right here in the little corners. This is to reduce bulk. Do it on both corners here. And repeat for the other one. You're going to lay the back right side up and we're going to unzip it. I'm only going to do it to about there to make sure my zipper pull does not get caught. Then we're going to lay the front right sides together here. And you're going to begin by matching up the side seam here where the exterior meets the interior. We're going to clip along the sides and meet up all the way around the sides. And then just follow it all the way around. It's okay to have a few little humps here. That's going to be where your zippers are. It's a good idea to go ahead and clip your linings out of the way so you don't catch them. Okay, with it lined up all the way around, I'm now going to take my stapler and I'm going to staple right here at this seam so that I know it doesn't move. Now we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to sew all the way around the perimeter with the seam allowance designated in the tutorial. Now I'm going to run it back around directly beside it within the seam allowance to get a stronger exterior connection. Okay, we've sewn all the way around. Now we need to trim the excess from the seam allowance. So just start somewhere and trim all the way around all the excess. I'm going to leave my corners because I'm going to come back with pinking shears for those. If you notice, these staples are just being cut off, so you don't even have to worry about removing them. All right, we can now unclip these linings, flip it over, and open up your turning hole. We're now going to very carefully, slowly, and methodically turn the entire bag through the turning hole. Take your time. It's not a race. You can reach in and grab your corner. If you notice, there's a lot of stress right here on these edges where the turning hole is, so that's why I always reinforce them. You'll reach in and you'll push all of your linings down. It's easier if you just unzip them and push them down. Push this lining in. You're actually going to push it down all the way till you get to the top of your Decaville light. I'm sorry, your Decaville heavy right here. We're not going to sew it closed until we fold this over and make sure that our magnetic snaps line up. There we go. The only thing left is to pull this lining back out. Push it all out where you can see all the whole seam. And then you're going to fold these under and clip them. Now we'll take this to the machine and we will sew with about a 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch seam allowance from edge to edge. Be sure you're catching both layers, and we're closing up our pocket hole now. We're just about done now. All you have to do is push your lining back down inside the bag. Attach your strap. And there you go. Your Fibi fold-over is now complete. You can see inside each pocket here. Another one here. And inside you have your slip pocket. Magnetic snap to close it. Magnetic snaps to fold this over. And there we go. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial as much as we enjoyed sharing it with you. If you like what you saw, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to like and share. And while you're at it, check out some of our other tutorials. We love to see your creations, so please share and tag Cherishing Today when you do. And don't forget to join our Facebook group, Cherishing Today Designs, for more inspiration.